Yeah, it is another episode of the Autumn Windbags. RJ Clifford, Juan Soto. Let's have some fun today. One day early. We love you. We just couldn't wait. Give you all that good, sweet action. We really wanted to do it hungover after St. Patrick's Day. No, just kidding. I'll be traveling on Wednesday, so we're recording Tuesday night for early Wednesday show. As we do. We've been all over the place. We were late 2 weeks ago, early this time. We go when we're needed. You put up the bat signal and we're there.
Shut up.
Great start.
Yeah, he's quiet the entire time. And as soon as it's my turn to talk, he just starts screaming, shut up.
He's like, I want the attention.
No, he wants to go into my closet and mess my clothes up, and I don't let him in there, and he cries. Ugh.
Inmates running the asylum in Soto household. Let's get to it. So we've been, it took me, 48, 72 hours to get my head right about Geno Smith. Traded for him, got him. I was like, yeah, the guy that sucked at the Jets. I don't know. And it's like, wait a minute. That was 6 years ago, right? Much different now. He's better now. He still put up numbers, still put up wins despite being on a crappy team, blah, blah, blah. So Soto and I have spent, the last 4 weeks trying to talk you guys off the ledge, Be like, hey, guys, we get it. Your instant reaction was like, bleh. But there's more to it. Pretty damn good. He produced. He got wins despite not having much. But we have a rule on this show, Soto. We never ignore in victory what we would critique in defeat. So we thought, okay, we've been fluffing Geno Smith for the last month. Let's talk about what he needs to work on. And there's a very, very obvious issue that he has that everyone talks about. Red zone.
Yep.
Not great in the red zone. Like most things, some things are out of his control. Some things are in his control. You can control, we'll get to all those things. So first off, everyone's favorite Raiders writer, Josh Dubow, Associated Press, he got to shit on not one, not two, but 3 Raiders quarterbacks in one tweet. He has a raging hate boner right now, being able to shit on 3 different Raiders quarterbacks. So he tweets out on March 10th, worst red zone passer rating since new Raiders quarterback Geno Smith took over as starter in Seattle in 2022 among 29 quarterbacks with 20-plus starts with the red zone attempt. Last, 80, Daniel Jones. At 85.2, Kenny Pickett. Trevor Lawrence, 85.2, third worst in that time frame. And then he reels off 3 Raiders. Geno Smith at 85.4, Gardner Minshew at 88.5, Derek Carr at 88.9.
Yep.
We thought Gardner Minshew and Derek Carr were bad in the red zone. Geno Smith, even worse.
Pretty bad.
Not great.
Pretty bad. Nope.
Not great.
Not great at all.
You put Geno Smith in between the 20s in a dome, and he's Joe Montana. You put the guy with only 30 yards of space in an end zone and 6 points at his disposal, turns into Gardner Minshew. Turns into worse than Gardner Minshew, which is pretty crazy to think. Let's dive into these numbers a little deeper, shall we, Soto? In 2024, inside the 20 red zone, he had the most interceptions in the NFL. Sacks, he was actually pretty good. He didn't get sacked a lot. Way down here. Only 2 sacks in the red zone. Partly because he can move so well, partly because he was throwing terrible passes, so he was avoiding getting sacked, but he was also getting chased around, so he was able to avoid sacks in the red zone. Plus, his percentage, pretty terrible. Way down here, below Aiden O'Connell, below Derek Carr, below Kenny Pickett, below CJ Stroud, Andy Dalton, Mac Jones. Way down at 48.2%. The stout Tanner McKee had a better passing percentage. Joshua Dobbs had a better percentage. Tyler Huntley, Will Levis, all better in the red zone, percentage-wise, accuracy than our boy Geno, right?
Not great.
10 touch. He had the most interceptions. I did have 10 touchdowns. So that's an issue, right? That's what we got to work on here. Now we'll get to how to fix it here in a second. Here's another stat that I wrangled up. I have no idea who this guy is, but I like his numbers. At Dat Timmy Tim. This is a new issue. This isn't the same issue. This isn't like something that's plagued him his entire career. So here's Geno Smith's touchdowns and interception production. Now, again, these are just touchdowns to interceptions. This include sacks, percentages, quarterback rating, just the touchdowns and interceptions, which is doesn't tell the whole story, but clearly that's the most important, right? Are you getting the ball in the end zone or are you giving the ball away to the other guy, right? In 2021, inside the red zone, 3 touchdowns, 0 interceptions. Outside, 2 touchdowns, but didn't play that much. 2022, outside of the red zone, 13 touchdowns, 11 interceptions. In the red zone, 17 touchdowns, 0 interceptions. 2023, outside of the red zone, 4 touchdowns, 7 interceptions. Inside the red zone, 16 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. You're like, wow, he's amazing in the red zone. And then 2024 rolls around. Outside, he was 6-9. Inside, 8 touchdowns, 4 interceptions. So in 2022 and 2023, inside the red zone, he had 33 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. So that's what tells me, Soto. 2024 red zone problems, specifically touchdown to interception ratio, was a 1-season issue. It's not something that's driven into his DNA. It's not his standard MO. It's not who he is. Passer rating, still bad over that 3-period time. But the face palming, oh my God, I can't believe he threw that pick on the 5-yard line. That's a 1-season aberration. That isn't a Geno Smith to his core issue.
It doesn't seem like there's one very big correlation. Now, correlation doesn't necessarily mean causation, but it's hard to overlook. The 1 year where he didn't have Pete Carroll as the head coach was the 1 year he did very poorly in the red zone. Mm-hmm. As we were talking, I did some stats of my own. First thing is they didn't have very many trips in the red zone. They only ran. Now I took the attempts plus Geno's rushing attempts and his sacks and added it to all the running back rushing attempts in the red zone. And it was only 10.5 plays per game that they were in the red zone. Mm-hmm. So they didn't get there very often. And once they were there, the yards per attempt in the red zone, Kenneth Walker III, 1.8 yards per attempt. Zach Charbonnet, 2.4 yards per attempt. Kenny McIntosh, 1 yard per attempt. They could not run the ball in the red zone, and they were forced to throw the ball when they really didn't want to. They were put in obvious passing downs a lot because they couldn't run the ball in the red zone. So there's a lot of numbers that lead to why Geno Smith had that drop-off in the red zone.
So there are a lot, like most things with Geno Smith, a lot of things are out of his hands. Now, I think when you actually watch those plays, like those 5 interceptions, he had some fumbles as well. They really are like facepalm. Oh God. Like he was just really, really trying too hard, which is, I think, where he felt he had to be hero ball. He's like, we can't run the ball here. We're not here very often. I can't waste this opportunity in the red zone. I gotta squeeze that in there. I gotta run away. He had some bad fumbles as well. One hand on the ball, right? He just felt like felt like a cape was tattooed on his back. It's like, I gotta make this happen. I gotta make this happen. That led to mistakes when you force it and you force it and you force it. So,
well, one thing too is the coaching staff felt the same way. The Seahawks last season turned the ball over on downs in the red zone 4 times. That's unheard of. Mm. To turn the ball over in the on downs, turn the ball over on downs 4 times. So they felt, the pressure too, knowing that they didn't get there that often. So it wasn't just a Geno thing. He just had the ball in his hands. It was a whole team failure in the red zone.
It was to have that kind of bad red zone. Everything has to line up, right? No run game, bad O-line, extra pressure on the quarterback, and then a quarterback who pressured himself. That forced the mistakes, trying to put together something that wasn't there.
I'm not saying it's okay at all. It's not okay. It must get better. And if it doesn't, the Raiders should move on from Geno a lot sooner than maybe a lot of us think they will. Mm. But when you see such a massive drop-off, 17-0, 16-2, when you see such a massive drop-off in the touchdown to interception ratio in the red zone, you have to take a look at why that was. It's not as simple as, well, he sucks or he just with this and that or whatever. No, there's a lot of big things. The philosophy changes from the head coach, the injuries to his receivers, not being able to run the ball. There's a lot of things that go into that. So I'm not making any excuses. It's inexcusable to turn the ball over that much in the red zone and to play that poorly in the red zone. But when it's like a season that just really sticks out, you have to take a look at the reasons why.
And this isn't this is who Geno's been for the last 10 years. It's like, no, this is something that was a spike. It was an aberration. It was an error. The stars aligned for this terrible bullshittery to happen in the red zone, right? So the good news about that is it's like, we know it's not ingrained in his DNA. It's fixable. And there's things, and the good thing is you know exactly what to do. Like this, there's certain like, I always use UFC examples. There's certain fighters that are nightmares for the coaches, and there's certain fighters that are nightmares for the fighter, right? Guys with like big, giant, one-punch knockout power that don't really set him up. That's the type of guy that I'm going to like lose sleep over thinking about. The dudes that can put together perfect game plans and execute them and outsmart you, I'm not worried he's going to knock my head off, but my coach is losing sleep because he's like, how are we going to figure this guy out, right? We know exactly, like, this is the first one. We know exactly what to fix. It's just a matter of how. You need the run game. No brainer. Duh. Easier said than done. But the run game obviously needs to improve everywhere, specifically in the red zone. And Geno needs to be told and be made comfortable and feel like he doesn't have to force things when he doesn't need to. Look, he's gonna get good money, and we're gonna lean on him. He's gonna, have to give us some, couple miraculous passes like a starting NFL quarterback needs to. Wow us a few times when we need him to, but not force it to the point where he's just like, I have to just take the sack, throw it away. We'll take 3 points, right? If there's nothing there, we'll take the field goal, right? We need to get him in that mindset as well. And as you pointed out perfectly, him and Pete Carroll's relationship is fantastic. You got to imagine Pete's going to get that through his head.
Yeah, I don't think this is anything that's a super big concern to anyone in the coaching staff. Chip Kelly's always had a really good game plan for red zoning, and it's almost like he has a whole different playbook just for the red zone. And that's one thing that I have admired from him for quite some time, is how he sets red zone plays up outside of the red zone, but he doesn't run those plays outside of the red zone. Those are only his red zone plays. So I don't really have I'm not too concerned about this. Another thing that we really haven't talked about is his main receiver, his pronouns, pal. Geno Smith's main receiver was an outside guy, and throwing to the outside in the red zone is a little bit more difficult because you don't have that deep threat. You don't have that that length down the field to throw the ball outside. It's a lot easier when you have, what's that?
All girth, no length.
All girth. You have to get over the middle, right? Mm-hmm. And we have Brock Bowers, who's, he can get open on anyone in short areas. So he has a more of a short or yardage possession guy where he can get open over the middle. The guys he had they were more of like the deep threat type of guys. So there is a lot of things. Context does matter. Again, it's not okay for that to happen. It's not okay for it to be something that we should get used to. Definitely not. But it's not as big a deal as a lot of people are making it out to be. I think they, like you've said about Josh Dubois for years, when the numbers are in his favor, he'll just give you the numbers. When the context is in his favor, he'll give you the context. So I understand that it's alarming, but it's something that is definitely going to be addressed, but I don't think it's going to be a super big issue.
Yeah, I think it's look, it is a super big issue, but it's something with solutions. Some very obvious solutions that are quick, some other solutions that are difficult. Like this should be the number one thing Geno Smith works on, right? As soon as they get in that quarterback room, all right, let's start working on your red zone. But again, to your point, like he's not going to have the same issues other places. He'll have Pete Carroll kind of say, "Hey, chill down, bro. We're not going to kill you if you kick a field goal. Right? Just take the sack, throw it away. You don't have to be hero every time. We're going to ask you to be a hero a few times. We're going to need you to deliver, right? Especially when you end up getting 40, 45 million a year, whatever it's going to be. We're going to demand some hero ball every now and then, but you don't have to do it every single time, right? It's not going to be like, we're never going to get back in the red zone. I got to squeeze this into triple coverage. It's like, no. Brake pedals on the left. We can take 3 if we have to. So the media grades are in for Raiders free agency. Have you had a chance to look at them yet?
I looked at one. I don't know which one you pulled up, but I looked at.
They are extremely consistent. The very highest grade, A-, the very lowest grade, a B. They literally only got 3 grades: B, B+, A-. No A pluses, no C's, D's, F's. It's all like, it's very, very top heavy, but it's all very, very kind of like packaged together. But I have a few theories why. Just a couple of them. Vinny Iyer, Sporting News, get the highest grade, A-. How much Geno Smith will work with Pete Carroll and Chip Kelly, Maxx Crosby. Seth Walder gave an A- to the Malcolm Kuntz, 12 million 1 year. Jacob Kamaker, USA Today, B+ again, Maxx Crosby, Geno Smith, coaching staff. And sometimes they mentioned the, Kappa and Chen and some other people kind of coming in there. My philosophy is this. My theory is this. The Raiders didn't make any giant splashes other than the Geno one, right? No giant splashes, but they had 0 whiffs for the first time in a long time. There wasn't a single, I can't believe they paid that guy this much. They gave this guy how much? I never even heard of that guy. This guy was available, but they gave this guy 3 years, $50 million. It was a little bit of addition by subtraction, Soto. I am of the camp. I think the Raiders need to be a little bit more aggressive in free agency. We desperately need a receiver. We desperately needed a guard. Desperately need a corner. It's like let's make a couple moves here. But the positive of not being aggressive, the flip side of that is no stupid deals. There was no one deal where there was any unanimous thought at all by any Raider Nation being like, ugh, that was a reach. That kind of sucked.
Yeah, I think all the moves made sense in multiple levels. They made sense for replacing players that left, and they also made sense as far as a team building aspect. So there's a roster building, like replacing players that left, like replacing the same player, right? Mm-hmm. But then there's also a team building. And that is how you want your team to be constructed. Of course, you're going to get corners because you need them and safeties because guys have left, right? But you also need to get an identity for your team, not just a roster. Think of like the Cowboys. They have a good roster, right? They have good players, but the team isn't always great. Well, you need to get an identity that you want to go after and you want to put on the field. And that identity is versatility, measurables, and length. That's what we have with these guys in the secondary. And when you have guys up front that can put pressure on the quarterback and really kind of speed up that clock, you want to have guys that are quick, that have long arms, and that can play multiple positions to give a little bit of a kind of a pause for concern from the quarterback, kind of make them second guess a little bit with their post snap read. When you can do that, it makes it all fits together.
Yeah.
Right? Because it makes sense. You make sense. You can kind of see how they want to play. They're going to play bump and run. They're going to play, a press man, and they're going to, go with their four linemen to try to get pressure. So it makes sense, and I think that's one of the reasons why they got the grades that they did, because you can see that all of these pieces fit together for a game plan of how the Raiders want to play defense.
I think it's also I think I'll push back on that a little bit. I think also it's just how media does this too. So like when they see the Jeremy Chin acquisition, they're not looking at that and saying, they really need a guard in a corner too, so I'm going to grade a little lower. It's like, no, you got a good player that fits the scheme for a good price. That's it, right? They're grading it in a bubble. You know what I'm saying? It's like a teacher grading an essay, right? You're reading the essay and giving it a grade. You're not looking back and like, how was this guy in class a month ago? He was shooting fucking, pea shooters at me. I was at the chalkboard. You know what I mean? So like, that's why I'm like, wow, those are really high grades. We haven't gotten a lot. We have so many holes. It's like, well, yeah, that's not part of how these guys grade. It's because it's Maxx Crosby, good grade. Malcolm Kuntz, good acquisition. Jeremy Chin, good acquisition. Not what haven't you done? We're just grading what you do.
Yeah, that's what I was saying. It's I don't expect these writers to go into like the nuances of the signings and how they fit in a team aspect. But as far as I see it, the grading maybe should be a little bit higher, because it does show they're building an identity for what Pete Carroll wants to do in the secondary.
One other part I want to bring up, Diana Ruzzini and Jacob Robinson had a quote, and I texted it on our text chain to you and Rory. They're talking about units that are trending up and trending down, right? Broncos defense, Steelers kicking game, whatever. Raiders offense. Here's what they had to say. They added Geno Smith, who's a better quarterback than most think, and culture-setting coach Pete Carroll, but lost several key defensive pieces. Still, imposing pass rushers, defensive end Maxx Crosby, defensive tackle Christian Wilkins, and defensive end Malcolm Kuntz will help Carroll's Raiders compete immediately. And then they said this, definitively, not maybe, not kinda, or I'm sort of feeling this way. They said definitively, this offseason, no other team improved as drastically. I think partly how much a lot of people like in the national media think of the Raiders, right? 4-win season, kind of a laughingstock to Josh McDaniels. I think there was a very low opinion of the Raiders to start. And then I think they also appreciate how underrated Geno Smith is on top of that. So I think those two things put together, they're like, yeah, man, Raiders offense, no one improved as drastically, which is kind of crazy. Like there's a lot of units that the Patriots defense, they spent a fuck ton of money. Broncos defense, they added a lot of pieces. They're like, nope, Raiders offense, most improved and drastically.
Yeah, I mean, well, the thing is the Patriots, they weren't great on defense, but they were better defensively than we were offensively. And the Broncos were good defensively last year already. We had one of the worst, if not the worst, quarterback rooms in the NFL. I know a lot of the Aiden O'Connell fans out there are not going to like that, but it's the truth. They didn't play well the entire season. However you slice it, it doesn't matter why. They didn't. Now you're going to get a better offensive coordinator, a better head coach, and you have a much better, light years better quarterback. So those three things just by themselves, even if you just drop Geno Smith into the team that was there last year, you're going to see a massive improvement. Mm. So I can understand why she said that.
When I did my Spot on Cofield show today, and they're like, and Willie Ramirez was the co-host. And he's like, yeah, we don't have the schedule yet, but we have the home and away games, and I'm kind of doing the math on like how many wins. You're like, I just see like 8 wins. Like, that's kind of all I see. I'm like, you mean double from last season? You mean twice as good as we were one season ago? Like, that's pretty fucking good, man. Like, that's a market improvement, you know? Like, yeah, like, do I want to win a Super Bowl next season? Absolutely. Is that the goal? We're going to demand excellence from our coaches and team and staff and all. Yes, absolutely. That's absolutely what we're expecting here. But I mean, brand new quarterback, brand new system, brand new head coach, bunch of new faces on defense. I mean, to be able to double the win total in the AFC West, the fucking juggernaut division in football. That's good. That's quality. What do I always say? We buy stock. Are you trending up or trending down? You double the win total? Okay. You don't wipe away the mess that Josh McDaniels and John Gruden and all those GMs and all that shitty moves by Mark Davis and all those shitty personnel moves and all those terrible drafts. You don't wipe that clean in one season. Even Pete Carroll can't do that, right? Double the win total. We're cooking.
I really think double the win total is going to be our floor. Because one thing that I know we're talking about the offense and how much better the offense is going to be set up to succeed. But you have to take a look at just the massive losses that we had at key players defensively. We lost 3/4 of our defensive line last season. 3/4 of the defense, 3/4 of the group on our defense who was supposed to be like the engine that ran the defense. We
the
lost
three best defensive linemen.
Probably our 3 best defensive players, honestly. It can be argued that they were.
Yeah.
So it's like just getting them back is going to make a massive improvement on that side. And I just don't think that people are giving the Malcolm Kuntz coming back healthy. We saw how much different things looked when it was just Christian Wilkins and Maxx Crosby, right?
Less than 4 games. We had less than 4 games. Maxx Crosby had like.
We saw how much different it looked when they were together. Okay, imagine adding Malcolm Kuntz to the other side of that. It's going to be a lot different. Hopefully, I'm crossing my fingers. I know we're not talking about draft stuff right now, but the way things are shaking out, there's a very big possibility that Mason Graham falls to us at 6. If Mason Graham falls to us at 6, that's a no-brainer. We have to get Mason Graham. He's one of the top 2 or 3 players in this entire draft. So if he falls to us, that defensive line is probably going to be one of, if not the best defensive line in all of the NFL. If we can do that, even without Mason Graham, we have an excellent, excellent defensive line. This is something that a lot of people who are maybe a little bit more pessimistic, and I understand why we have a lot of PTSD out here. We don't want to get too high. We don't want to get, too excited or anything like that. But you have to take a look at how this team is constructed. That was the game plan for AP and his 117 coaches on the staff last season to help this defense run the way they wanted it to, was to have those 4 up front create a lot of havoc. And
well, think about it.
Hopefully we see it.
I think it's like a 90% chance Mason Graham is there at 6. Like, think about it.
Oh my God, if he's there.
There's only look, 5 guys got to go before us, right? 5 guys. And
quarterbacks.
Look, 2 quarterbacks for sure.
Abdul Carter,
Travis Hunter. And then it's just a matter of who does Jacksonville like at 5, right? Austin Genty, Jalen Walker. Do they go wide receiver? Do they go corner? Like, seriously, like those first 4 guys are gone, and then it's just there's probably 10 guys that the Jags could maybe do at 5.
Okay, if you guys don't know Mason Graham's game, nobody blocked him last season. I watched tape on like a cut-up tape of him. Nobody blocked him. Either they ran away from him, so the play went the other way, or he was late getting to the court. Like, he beat his guy. He just was a little bit late, and they got the ball out quicker. Mm-hmm. He was never blocked. He is Warren Sapp. That's how he plays. That's how dominant he is. That's why there's so much talk about this guy who doesn't have crazy measurables. I mean, he's 6'3". He probably about 310-ish. I know he weighed a little bit light in the combine, but people are saying he played around 310, 315. He doesn't have super long arms. He's quicker than he is fast, but he can be blocked. People can't block a guy.
Let's put it this
So
way: if he isn't there at 6, that means Abdul's there or Shadur's there, right? Or like that's what I'm saying is like
yeah,
we're
he's one of the
almost like
top four guys. He's one of
we're
talent wise, he's one of the top three. And is the quarterback class, I don't put them as far as talent goes. They get pushed up because they're quarterbacks. But as far as like pure talent, he's like in the top three. It's Mason Graham, it's Abdul Carter, and it's Travis Hunter. Those are the three best players in the draft, and we can realistically get him at 6. If he's there, run, don't walk. Go get him and make your great offensive line even better, and just win off of your defensive line. You can do that.
if he's not there, then there's a no-brainer, right? Then it's like,
Yeah, there's an easy pick.
It's Travis Hunter or Shadur, right? It's like he's gonna be there, or there's gonna be one of those like top 3 guys we never thought would fall to us. Like that's
God, that'd be crazy.
That's the beauty of 6, man. 6 is good. Like everyone's like, oh, it's just outside of the quarterbacks. It's like it's fucking sweet, man. Like we should be getting a franchise-altering player come April. Like we really should. Unless there's just a giant fucking whiff. Duds happen all the time, but we should be getting a franchise-altering. We should get Brock Bowers of another position at 6.
Yeah, we should. And if it's not one of those guys, if it's not one of those top 4 guys, I don't think we should get a quarterback up that high. I think we traded for Geno Smith. We gave up a premium pick for Geno Smith, and we're going to pay him a lot of money. Does it make sense to get that guy and then go ahead and pick a high pick that's not going to help your team right now? So if one of those guys isn't available, right, then you pick the most dynamic player that's left, which is either an Ashton Denty, or if you like T-Mac, if you like Burden, if you like Golden, like who do you like more? Ibuka, who's the dynamic player that you like, who's going to be able to help your offense? Who's that guy? And you go get him at 6, or you trade back because there's a couple of guys that you like. Whatever, big deal. Either way, I'm good with it because ultimately, I'm leaning more towards a dynamic player on the outside because of the depth at running back. I don't know. It's going to be hard for me to reconcile passing up on Genty because I think he's like a mini LaDainian Tomlinson. But we're going to be able to get a player who is an excellent player to be like you said, a Brock Bowers of their position.
Starting to get excited. Starting to move. So let's talk about the draft. We still don't know who has like final say between, obviously Mark Davis is the boss. He rarely gets involved. Tom Brady's the czar of football. Is he going to be in the draft room deciding? Is he just kind of helping? Does he have final say? Obviously Spytek is the GM. Pete Carroll had personnel final say in Seattle. Does he have it here? We didn't really get a great answer. It's hard to know what to expect between these 4 guys and this draft, right? For one, 3 of them, we have no draft history on them. Spytek was part of the Buccaneers. We didn't have final say. How much of the Buccaneers personnel was Spytek? No one outside of that room knows. We certainly don't. Tom Brady obviously never has any history drafting. And obviously Mark Davis, right? Like those 3 guys, we had no clue what they're about. At least with Pete Carroll, he's got a long history of being the decision maker. All that time in Seattle, whoever was drafted, whoever was picked up, he at worst gave the stamp of approval, if not straight up, we're taking that guy. That's my call. I'm the guy, right? So with that being said, Soto, what do you visualize with these very, very murky waters that we have and only one kind of guy with any history in Pete Carroll? We don't know, again, if he has final say, whatever, right? But everyone, like every GM, every franchise kind of has like a pattern, right? Like we had Telesco, best player available, never trades down. We kind of knew what he was about. John Gruden went with his gut. That guy looks gritty. He's a grinder. We're taking him, right? Like we knew what he was about, right? What does this regime look like to you drafting on draft day?
I think that they have a plan where it's leaning towards big guys leading towards inside out. And then kind of like what I'm saying is like leaning towards inside out. And then if that's not there, it's get a dynamic player. And that's, I mean, if you take a look at what Pete Carroll's done, he's drafted a lot of guys on the offensive line. He's drafted a lot of guys on the outside as far as playmakers, like DBs. Spytek, same thing. He's drafted a lot of defensive and offensive linemen up early. He's also drafted, he's also been a part of teams that have drafted guys on the outside early. So I think that's probably where they go.
If Pete Carroll's magic touch filters into the Raiders at all, we should be getting career, franchise altering players in like rounds like 3, 4, and 5. Like he hit on some third rounders that were incredible. Like some of the dude, like he had like multiple like all pros. And a lot of these guys, like he would trade back like 4 times and get him, or trade up like 3 times to get this guy. So it's, I think, let's give credit where credit is due. Gruden getting Maxx Crosby in the 4th and Hunter Renfrow in the 5th. Like you did it. Congrats. Like, no, for sure. You did the thing. You get the credit for it. To me, I just kind of feel like it felt lucky. Like I wanted to say like, yeah, you lucked out, right? You get enough draft picks and you're going to find guys, diamonds in the rough. Like maybe it's not fair for me to say that, but that's how I feel. And I always try to be honest here. Again, credit where credit is due. You picked Maxx in the 4th. You did it. Like that was, thank you. Thank you for your service. Right. Mm-hmm. Felt kind of lucky with Pete Carroll. He was consistent. He consistently found Pro Bowlers, 3rd round, 4th round, 5th round.
Well, I mean, like we were talking about with Geno Smith with his red zone issues. Is it something that happens all the time, or is it an anomaly? For John Gruden, hitting on Maxx Crosby was an anomaly. If you take a look, even if you add in Hunter Renfrow, like he missed on so many picks. It's like, yeah, that was the exception that proved the rule. Mm-hmm. Hey, man, shut up.
And then you got Pete Carroll, who like Richard Sherman's like arguably the greatest 5th round pick in the history of the NFL.
And he did it again with Tariq Woolen.
Just on a regular basis. And that says 2 things. One, it's, credit to his drafting ability, finding those athletes, and 2, a system where they flourished. How often do we talk about like, yeah, we're always like, oh, let's get the quarterback that's going to be the guy. If you don't have the coach, if you don't have the OC, if you don't have the quarterback coach, if you don't have the line, if you don't have the weapons, if you don't have the culture, if you don't have the ownership, it's not going to matter. It's not. I mean, you have to have all those things in play. Like, oh my God, Patrick Mahomes, best quarterback ever. One of the best owners in football, one of the best coaches in football, one of the best tight ends that will remain nameless in football. Like a lot of things had to go. Yeah. And then he delivered, right? Patrick Mahomes be able to do that in Cleveland? Fuck no. Hell no. Would Trevor Lawrence be this bad in Kansas City? No. Right? So it's, yes, Pete Carroll, find the diamonds in the rough late round, but he also created an environment, an ecosystem for these late rounders to flourish.
Yeah, I mean, I like to call them like quarterbacks are like flowers. Some of them, they can grow anywhere. They're going to be good no matter what. As far as team success, no. Like there's guys like Josh Allen and Patrick Mahomes and these types of guys. You could put them in any situation, and they themselves are going to be good. The team may not be good, but they're going to be good. Depending on where they go, they're going to be a little bit better, a little bit worse. But they're like a succulent, like a cactus. They can grow anywhere, right? Mm-hmm. There's other ones that you need to handle a little bit, do a little bit more care, like the Lamar Jacksons. He needed a specific situation who would build something around him to flourish around what he does well, and then bring him along slowly and give him more to do as time goes on. He needed a little bit more care to be the player that he is. So it all depends on what kind of player you have. But yeah, if you give a plant or a flower an environment to grow where anyone would flourish, yeah, of course it's going to be the best version of that you're going to get.
Look at every quarterback who went to the Jets. Like they all played way better every time they left. right? Like,
Yeah, man, it's not a coincidence, dude. It just
the
really
Jets
isn't.
are actually good at picking quarterbacks. They're just terrible at having them play well.
Getting him to play.
like, they pick good players. Like the guys they draft, like they find success in the NFL, just never in green and white. Last topic. Have a little fun with this guy. Jimmy G's going to the Rams. Funny, he goes, back east, Vegas, LA, just wherever the poo nannies like the best. Just wherever their short skirts, 25-year-old Instagram models. Jimmy Good Looks is going to be there. I can appreciate that. He did say this to the Los Angeles Times when asked about where he went, why, etc. It's really more about the situation than the opportunity, said Garoppolo, who also has played for the Patriots, 49ers, and Raiders. There were some opportunities, but I've been in a bad organization, and I've seen how it can wear on you throughout the year. Just talking to my brothers, my family, didn't want to go through that again. Now, he's only played for 3 organizations. 2 of them, they've had a lot of success. I could say a lot of things about the Patriots. His time there, it's hard to say bad organization. 49ers, same thing. They've one of the most consistently quality organizations of the last 40 years. So that leaves just a 1. Shots fired, Soto. Jimmy G. Jimmy can't set his feet. Jimmy interception. Jimmy, who got injured not once, not twice, but thrice in the short time he was with the Raiders. Jimmy cost half his salary because he failed a drug test. G is blaming the bad organization for how unhappy he was during his time with Las Vegas.
I mean, I tend to agree with him because it was bad. It was bad. You had a head coach that was bad. You had an offensive coordinator who was bad. You had your star offensive player who was bad, didn't want to be there. You had an organization that moved on from a longtime quarterback, and it sent ripple effect through the team. It was bad when he was there. That's why it's such that's why the Raiders were talked about having the biggest turnaround in the most improvement. That's part of it. They have more clarity at head coach. They have a more stable leadership as far as ownership and GM. They have a clear view. They have a clear mission. They have a better offensive coordinator there. So yeah, when he was there, it was bad. It was really bad.
You know what's bad the Raiders had at that time? Their quarterback. Jimmy G was so bad, dude. He was so awful.
I mean, we had just talked about quarterbacks that are, what kind of flower are they? Yeah, Jimmy G is part of that quarterback that you have to have a great situation for him, and he can play really well for you. But he had a terrible situation, and he played terrible. He's not a unique snowflake when it comes to that. That's common. That's more common than a guy that can succeed anywhere. So he's not like, he played well when he played with the Rams last season in his 1 or 2 games that he was in. Well, he has a better situation. It was a bad situation, like plain and simple.
What was the porn star he got caught with? Remember her name?
Oh, I don't know.
What was her name? She had some fucking cannons on her, like even by porn star standards.
Oh, she was. What was she, like a milfy chick, right?
Yeah, Jimmy Garoppolo, porn star. Which one was it?
Come on,
Kiara Mia.
She's a lovely lady, and my apologies to her.
Fine, guys. Since you asked, we'll show you some photos of Kiara Mia.
Oh, Jesus.
You guys are just begging to know. There she is. There's our girl. Jimmy G's piece.
Good for her.
I like his style.
He definitely likes, he has a type.
He likes him real petite. You know what I mean? Real, like, break him in half.
A petite between the ears, maybe.
Goddamn thoroughbred.
God bless him.
Ready to do some What Up Windbags?
On that note, yes.
At the Space Beast, thank you for being a member. Very much appreciated. Getting Geno before free agency started gives us flexibility and leverage with our first round pick. Pick number 1.6 plus quarterback 1 is greater than pick 1.6 plus third round 92. Yeah, man, this is what we talked about. It was the first domino, pretty much the first domino to fall in free agency, even though obviously it was a trade. It wasn't technically free agency, but free agency, that's a ripple effect. One quarterback needy team off the market. And now another team is going to be quarterback needy in Seattle. Ripple effect. Third round pick goes. That now then affects the draft, right? Raiders could still go quarterback at 6. I don't know, but it's not desperation mode. And that was the biggest thing about the timing for me, is the Raiders now approach free agency in the draft not in desperation mode. I despise drafting in desperation mode. I hate it so much because it's such a cop-out. It's, we have these giant holes here. We desperately need a corner. We'll reach for a corner. We desperately need a guard. We'll reach for a guard. It's like, no, man. The first 2 days of the draft, 1, 2, and 3, you're like best player available, franchise-altering players. Like, was there any better example than Telesco last year getting Bowers? We just drafted a really good tight end in the second round, the one before. It's like this is a franchise-altering talent. Imagine if they're just like, no, we desperately need a corner. We're gonna have to go corner no matter what. It's like, no, man. Like, now let's just keep plugging these holes so we can just go best player available in the draft.
The good thing about where we are right now is the pick is going to make our team better right away. Whoever we pick.
Mm-hmm.
There's not going to, we've talked about this before. In the draft, you have like your top 10 prospects, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then 11 to like, I don't know, maybe 40-ish around there. That's the next group. And then you have that till about 100, 110, 120 around there. Then after that, it's like, what's your flavor, Mm-hmm. But we're going to get a player that's going to make our team better right away.
And hopefully, like, good for 10 years, instead of just like plugging a hole that we just fucked up in free agency. It's like, man,
Dude, like, would you want to get Warren Sapp on this team, like, as a rookie? I would.
Like, we don't really have a giant hole at defensive tackle. It's like, that's not why you shouldn't be drafting that way at number 6. You shouldn't be plugging holes at 6. Like, you need like life-altering players. Like, they're there at 6. It's not a very good draft. It's 6. It's 6. You get anyone you want minus 5 dudes. Go big.
That's crazy, man.
Who cares?
Look, you're gonna get a great player for yourself at 6.
You should.
Look, we're gonna find. Okay, we just signed Adam Butler. Yeah, great. We'll find a way to put him on the field. We'll find a way. We'll figure it out. Trust me, we'll figure it out.
Sam Deman, also, thank you so much for being a member. One of the earliest members of the Windbags. Bring in Milton. I thought I'd see that name in the comments today.
He's an interesting option. I think he would have been a much stronger option had we not already traded for Geno Smith. I don't know that you want to trade for 2 quarterbacks. It doesn't make as much sense now as it did before we got Geno Smith, but it's definitely an interesting prospect going and pairing him up with Chip Kelly. So, I just don't see it happening, but
he's probably how many quarterbacks in the NFL are better pure athletes at quarterback than Milton?
Anthony Richardson,
pure athlete,
Jackson. Let's see where else.
Less than 5, right? You can count on one hand.
Probably less than
how many
5.
guys are better pure athletes?
He's just so freaking big. He's definitely not the fastest out there, but he's fast. But he's just so big and fast, and his arm puts him over the top. He has one of the strongest arms in the league. He's Josh Allen without the accuracy.
Mm-hmm.
He's big. He can run. He can run around you. He can run over you. He can throw it out of the stadium. He's just not accurate.
He's wild, man. He's wild.
Dude, he's
If you can tame that horse, baby.
That throw that he made last year, you never throw late across your body over the middle. That is a guaranteed interception. But unless you can throw the ball out of the stadium and your name is, Milton III. And he can do that. And he threw across his body, running out of bounds over the middle, got it right between two defenders, and it was a touchdown. That's the kind of play you get from. He's like, okay, look, he's a more mobile Jeff George. If you guys remember back that far, he's a more mobile Jeff George. This dude had arm talent. You wouldn't find somebody who had a better arm than Jeff George, but he wasn't as mobile, and he threw a lot of picks, threw a lot of bonehead plays. That's Joe Milton.
Turtle Drip. I could have picked 10 people for this same comment. We needed the correction. I appreciate Raider Nation, Windbag Nation correcting us. That was Connor Cook, not McGloin, against the Texans. I said last week how develop a backup quarterback.
Drop a white guy in there that sucked. It's
miscellaneous shitty backup Raiders quarterback. And thank you so much for correcting us. Yes, it was McGloin got hurt in the last game of the season. Then Connor Cook, they both sucked. It was going to go bad. The moral of the story is we shouldn't have a backup quarterback where you completely forget who he is. And look, and it's not like that wasn't a big game for us. It was one of 2 playoff appearances in the last 20 years. And even I forgot who was the quarterback. He was that fucking forgetful. He was that fucking unspectacular, that forgetful. I purged him from my memory. He was so bad. And he played in one of 2 playoff games since I've been out of high school. And I still forgot who played quarterback because he sucked that fucking bad. Develop quarterbacks. Always. Always be closing. Always DQ. Always develop quarterbacks.
You got to, man. You're doing yourself a disservice if you don't do that. You remember the what was it? The tight end's name? Jared Cook. Remember his alligator arm drop at the end of the game? We were driving at the end of the game. Was it a 4th down play? Great pass by Connor Cook, and he's like, "Oh, I don't want to get hit. I'm just going to go to this." And it just went off his fingertips, and we're like, "Dude, that would have been a first down, field goal range." Yeah, that was a tough game for me because we had beat the crap out of them earlier that year.
And then it was backup quarterback versus backup quarterback, and it was just so hard to fucking watch, dude. It was so hard to watch. I remember I watched that game at Panama Joe's with Rory, his then girlfriend, now wife, and her parents. I just went to Panama Joe's. I'm like, I didn't want to make a thing about it. I just wanted to go watch the game somewhere with Raider fans, not plan anything, not organize. I don't have to be somewhere at a certain time. And it was just so fucking miserable. It was with 3 English people I didn't know, Rory, just drinking shitty beer, more or less by myself, watching god-awful quarterback play for 4 quarters. Just
I talked about 2 things this episode that really bummed me out. That playoff game and freaking Jeff George. Good God, just throw in freaking Jamarcus Russell and damn. Not getting or drafting what the hell? I even forgot his name, which is great. I forgot his name. It's so awesome. I don't even want to remember it.
Jamarcus Russell? Is that who's name?
No. The offensive lineman that we got. Don't say his name. That we should have gotten Christian Darrisaw instead. Don't say it. Don't say it. Don't say it.
Okay.
But yeah.
He looked like Gaston. He looked so good. Looked great getting off the bus. I was like, yeah, this guy's going to be a beast.
Christian Darrisaw should have been that pick.
Nope. All right, that's it for us. Thank you for joining us today early. Much appreciated. Again, anything wild or crazy happens, I'll be in England, but I will absolutely have access to internets. We'll figure out sometime. It'll be early morning there, late night here, whatever. Something crazy happens. Big signing, big trade, something worth chatting about. We'll be there. You better believe it. Until that time, Knock on wood if you're with me. Hey, you made it to the end of our video. Great job. I know you want more. Go ahead and click the next video. And if you're feeling crazy, go ahead and subscribe.